Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
We are in the Untethered Soul series, and this piece of it is kind of a sticky part. It's called Freeing Yourself, and there's several little pieces to it. But I really focused on the pieces that are probably the most difficult. And whenever you hear that, know that that's the very thing that gives you the greatest advantage, the greatest opportunity, the deepest growth, the most important opportunity. And anything you can do to chip away at the challenging, hard, painful part, anything you can do will not have to be done again. Keep that in mind. It doesn't mean there's not more to be mined, but you didn't start a flow of pain. You did not break open the dam. You have simply brought your awareness to what you've been carrying all this time. So we'll start with the question that Michael Singer asked. He says, how did we come up with the notion that life is not okay just the way it is, or that it won't be okay the way it will be? Who said that the way life naturally unfolds is not all right? The answer is, fear says so. So my take on this is that fear is actually another name for our ego. It's another way for our ego and our identity with what is supposed to happen, what isn't supposed to happen, the way it's supposed to be, what have I learned from my past? What have I been hurt by that I don't want to see again? That I don't want to, when I see it on the horizon somewhere, I remember I have a stab of pain that I carry with me, and I see it and I avoid it, or I attack it, or I protect myself from it, or I do any number of things. This is how we respond to it. Fear is our lifelong limitation and almost constant partner on the spiritual path. So just knowing about it helps to disarm it. Just being aware of it and seeing it helps you to make choices that you wouldn't have if you allowed it to run you. Fear has come up to protect us in a good way by fight or flight in the past, but it is not supposed to be in charge, and it should not be our go-to reaction to everything that startles us or confuses us or comes up against our expectations. It doesn't mean we can't feel it. We should be aware of it and feel it. We just, in that awareness, we are in control. We are in charge. We're able to make decisions. And so it's under the guise of protecting us, which is a good thing, that it surveys that horizon for anything that resembles when we were hurt before. And our response will often be unconsciously to defend, deflect, avoid, confront, attack, strike out against the threat, eliminate it, run, abandon, whatever, right? Whatever our strategies have been. Sometimes it's just physically, but most often in the world in which we live now, where physical threat is less often, and emotional threat is moment by moment, depending on our thoughts about our emotional moods, our emotional well-being at any given time. Michael Singer says, fear is caused by blockages in the flow of your energy. He says, when your energy is blocked, it can't come up and feed your heart. Fear paralyzes, contracts, constricts, it freezes up everything. And that freezes up your energy. And so your heart is waiting. He says, therefore, your heart becomes weak. When your heart is weak, it becomes susceptible to lower vibrations. And one of the lowest of all vibrations is fear. Fear is the cause of every problem. It's the root of all prejudices and the negative emotions of anger, jealousy, and possessiveness. If you had no fear, you could be perfectly happy living in this world. Nothing would bother you. You'd be willing to face everything and everyone because you wouldn't have fear inside of you that causes you a disturbance. That doesn't mean people aren't going to be people around you. It doesn't mean things aren't going to happen. It doesn't mean that you won't hurt yourself or get hurt. Yes, those things can still happen, but fear never stopped you from getting those experiences. Fear is just our reaction. So, in my way of thinking of it, spiritual practice is our way of removing and healing the blocks caused by old patterns of thought and assumptions about the world from our past, without the benefit of our current spiritual maturity. In other words, when we experience things at 10 years old, or 20, or last year even, we may have been using an older paradigm than we're living with now. We were using a different understanding of how the world works, and we jumped to conclusions, and we came up with strategies, consciously or unconsciously, about how I'm going to handle that, what I'm going to do about it, how to escape it. And our spiritual maturity, our spiritual growth, our spiritual practice helps us to continue to advance, to broaden and to open, and to learn more about our own interior as well as our world, and the ways in which we can function in a very different way and get very different results, right? And so when we're still living with an unconscious limitation of our earlier consciousness, we create stumbling blocks for living in the reality that we come to see as possible. And so our practice helps us to begin to relieve those and to begin to see differently and to stay conscious to them. And so that means, boys and girls, we have to feel our fear and we have to feel our pain. We have to see it and feel it. So any idea that our spiritual practice helps us skate above all of that messiness and junky junk from the past, no, it actually takes us straight down into it. And the more courageous we are, and the more powerful we become. And it is the invitation, and it's always available to us. When I realize this, I simply breathe. I don't have any magic mantra. I don't have any vision that I use necessarily. Not that mantras aren't good or visions aren't good or a chant or a song or anything that works for you. For me, if I simply can remember to breathe, I change. There's a whole different, it's like a bell has rung. It's like I open up and I'm able to let go and open. And I know that wherever I'm constricted, that's the thing that needs my attention right now. Even in the face of a current situation or a personality in front of me, if I breathe into my heart and just keep my eyes open in my awareness, I am going to come up with something better than I would have if I closed down and reacted. I lose my fear and I pull my power back into myself. I don't give it to the situation. When I'm in my highest mind, when I remember to breathe and keep breathing and find myself entering into a different space. Now, it still might not have gone the way I wanted. I might still get hurt. I might still be mad. I might have said something I still have to clean up with the person later, or a situation. That can still happen. But I'm learning and I'm growing, and my breath, my breathing will help me open the door. The first introduction I had to using my breath, well, it was in childbirth, but me as the mom, not my own childbirth, but I'm sure that was involved, but I don't really remember that. But what I'll say here is that in learning how to manage pain that was coming at me in a way that was overwhelming. And I was being told, a face was, in my face saying, breathe, breathe. And I was like, I know. And I was like, just do it, just do it. And I found myself being able to ride that in a whole different way. And I'll tell you, I have used it for the rest of my life. It has taught me how to handle my emotional pain as well as my physical pain, that I can breathe into it. And those of you who've had that experience or have used breath in that way, have been taught that, you know its power. It is natural and it's ancient and it's for us, and breathing is the doorway. When I was working in a hospital situation, I was moving from my role in the laboratory to quality assurance for the whole hospital. And I had just learned about it. I didn't know anything about it. Put aside the dysfunction of that situation, just as I say it out loud. Why would that be? But this was a long time ago. This was in the 1980s when quality assurance first came up, and nobody knew about it. So I actually had an edge on them, which is, again, something sad to hear. But so anyway, in doing it, I went to my very first directors managers meeting to get them excited about quality assurance. Can you imagine how hard that might have been? I mean, it made me sound like a white lab coat and white gloves, right? Coming in and trying to, check their departments and make sure that they were doing everything according to the quality control standards that we had and to the accreditation standards. But I didn't want to be that kind of person. I wanted to inspire them to use the tools that we were learning about to give better care and to look scientifically at how we were delivering care, to do something that would be better each time, and something that we could routinize even more so than we already did with our policies and procedures. And I was terrified. And I came from the back of the room, and as I walked up to the front of the room, I hadn't done very many much public speaking before. But when I came up, I felt my knees weaken. I thought I was going to collapse in the middle of the aisle. But all I remembered was, I just remembered just to breathe. And so I started breathing. I pushed my stomach out and I just breathed. And I just went, I'm going to do this. It was more important to me that I tell them this, and I wanted them to hear the passion that I had for this role, this thing that we could do. And I turned around and I saw them, and what I didn't know was that I was a public speaker. As you can tell, I now make my living with that. It was a revelation. But I turned around and I saw the room, and when I saw their faces, I was far less afraid than when I saw the backs of their heads. And when I saw them, I held the whole room. And some of the most intimidating, politically motivated people were all lined up at the back of the room, and they were talking to each other. And somewhere in there, in talking about it, and they were talking to each other, and I snapped my fingers like a teacher, and I said, hey, I'm talking up here. You're missing some good information, and you know what? You're good at this. So you need to be our model for everybody else, because your department is one of the best ones we have. And in doing that, I got the whole room on attention. But how did I get there? Because it was my heart, right? It was the breathing that opened up my heart. The fear constricted it. I couldn't feel the passion. All I could feel was the fear. And I would have been shaky, and I would have been scared, and I would have looked weak, and I would have sounded like somebody with white gloves and a white lab coat. And instead I was able to open my heart and channel some energy I didn't even know I had. That's what we do no matter where we are, no matter what it is that's before us. We breathe, we feel the power returning through the source of our hearts. Our hearts are the center of everything. They are the portal, the connection to all of the life force, to all of the energy. Jennifer Wellwood says, willing to experience aloneness, I discover connection everywhere. Turning to face my fear, I meet the warrior who lives within. That's where your power is. You're carrying it all the time. Breathing opens the door to it. Breathing and committing. And go there. Yes, go there. Go there. Michael Singer says, life is surrounding you with people and situations that stimulate growth. You don't have to decide who's right and who's wrong. You don't have to worry about other people's issues. You don't have to fix them. You only have to be willing to open your heart in the face of anything and everything, and permit the purification process to take place, because you're in active transformation in that moment. You are transmuting the energy. When you breathe, when you open your heart now becomes the place through which everything is channeled. Whatever that is, and whatever your role is, whatever is your part to play, will be given to you, because you're now open. When you do this, the first thing you'll see is that situations will unfold that hit your stuff. You know what I mean, your stuff, right? But in truth, that's exactly what's been happening your entire life. The only difference is that now you see it as a good thing, because it's an opportunity to let go. You will not fear it as much. Even when you feel fear, you will know, dive in. Try it. Move through it. Give yourself the opportunity. Push as hard as you can into it, and let yourself breathe, relax, open. Because remembering, to let go is always a command to breathe. When I say let go, sometimes I don't know how to do that. Let go, Karen. I don't know what that is. But oh yeah, that's right, I wasn't breathing. I was holding. Physically, deeply breathing and slowly breathing in, and slowly cues your body and your mind and your heart to open, accept, receive, expel the toxic, limiting, spent bit of undigested untruth out of your system. And there's freedom. Michael Singer says, the law is very straightforward. When your stuff gets hit, let go right then. Breathe, because it will be harder later. It won't be easier if you explore it, or play with it, hoping to maybe take the edge off of it. It won't, because to think about it, or talk about it, or try to release only part of it at a time, if you want to be free to the core of your being, you must let go right away, because it will not be easier later. In other words, it's all or nothing in a way. That doesn't mean you can't try it your way a little bit, but you know that breathing and opening and allowing and being present to it and feeling it anyway, even when you'd rather not, even when you think you're too tired. If you just stay with it and breathe, nothing comes to you that you're not equipped to handle. Right time, right order, all the time, right? Make a decision, make a commitment that whatever is tightening or closing your heart is weakening your ability to respond in power and in transforming love. If you believe that, and if you begin to tell yourself that, then you will do anything to be in your power. You will do anything to breathe into whatever is here, to not hold on to it anymore, because there is nothing good that comes from that. Nothing. And you're not protected. You're just re-upping. More hurt, more wound, more stuff to get hit next time, instead of flowing, relaxing, opening, allowing. While it may come from a protective instinct, it's inhibiting your authentic power that is greater than whatever threat you face. And then, more freedom. You're free. You know what? It doesn't matter what happens. It really doesn't. When you hit freedom, when you relax and when you let go, you're your authentic self. This is the best you can be. There is nothing that, nothing anybody can do to you. I mean, yes, I go to those extremes too. What if I die? Okay, I died. I mean, if I could have kept that from happening, I think I would have. But the point is that we only fear. It doesn't really materialize. It isn't really that. It's not usually that dire. It's really just our reaction to living life and to being present to whatever is coming up, to be revealed and to be let go. Bell Hooks says, when we drop fear, we can draw nearer to people. We can draw nearer to the earth. We can draw nearer to all the heavenly creatures that surround us. How much of our lives do we spend separated? Michael Singer says, the psyche is built upon avoiding pain, and as a result it has fear of pain as its foundation. The heart is where the pain comes from, because there have been blockages that have been held in the heart. We've been talking about fear as avoidance of pain, but in fact, most pain we frequently experience is of our own creation. We carry it in our hearts as blocked energy from the past. Unhealed, unforgiving, unexamined thought. Those patterns that hurt our egos and make us protective, defensive, angry, attacking, avoiding, ending relationships, walking out on things. In our meditation tonight, we use the strategy that Michael Singer suggests in his book, How to Open Up to the Pain and Allow It to Be Transformed. Breathing, relaxing, allowing, being present to it, see it, and becoming bigger than the constriction itself, than the pain. The lightning stab, the cramping feeling, or the relentless throb, however we experience it physically or emotionally, can be undone and opened by the breath, by the willingness to see, the willingness to feel. Eric Allan said, acceptance has a paradox within it. Acceptance of a painful situation as is begins to transform it into something better. Acceptance is not mired in stasis. It's a loving spaciousness that allows change to root on its own terms and time. It allows change to root on its own terms and time. We call that growth. Pain is the opportunity to release more blocked energy, release more of our power, heal our hearts, release more love. Another word is freedom. What wouldn't you do with that? Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Karen, and we welcome Reverend Sheila to join us.
Going to join us. Yes.
I appreciated going through that process of the meditation, Karen, and I'm curious if Michael Singer is Buddhist, or it seems very Buddhist, this being with what shows up in the body. And when I was with the pain and just being with it more and more, like, oh, it's so small. It's just, there's so much of me and so small. It just seemed like it just became this little dot, and I was just there with it, and it wasn't much. And my experience of pain, like, or fear, really, that fear, the fear and do it anyway kind of thing. Like, if I could just get really comfortable with fear and do it anyway, like that little dot, that could be there, and I can still do what I'm called to do, what my heart's guiding me to do. I think especially now, as we are in this time where we're being called to do things like speak truth to power, if we want to see social change, social justice, there's going to be a lot of fear around that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which then brings in the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there is a lot of pain in the atmosphere right now. We find ourselves having to move through the pain to get to what is real. Because it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of this something as we walk, as we move, as we do stuff. And as you were talking about the pain, and just go ahead and face it and connect with it and move through it and so forth. That's really what we're being called to do right now, because there is a lot of it out there. And if we just close it down, then nothing's happening to it, right? It's just there.
Oh, no, we're carrying it.
Yeah.
We're carrying it, and it's blocking us.
Yeah.
And everything that we want to be and trying to be and practicing to be, we are working against ourselves because we are unwilling to take a deeper look, a deeper dive. For me, also, when I recognize I'm fear, when I recognize the fear and I, whatever, I realize, oh, it's only fear. It's not like a real thing. It feels like a real thing. I mean, it feels like a real thing, but it isn't. It is just, I'm afraid. Oh, I can be afraid, that little thing you were talking about. Oh, I can be afraid, but that doesn't stop me. That isn't what I have to, I just need to breathe and dissipate some of it, and let some of it go. And the same is true for pain. Pain doesn't have a reality.
Yes.
It gives us a feedback mechanism that we think means something is wrong. Something is hurt. Something needs to be fixed. Something, I got to take care of this. But really, the kind of pain and emotional pain that we carry with us is meant to be heard and seen and felt and brought to the light. And everything that we experience in this life that will trigger it is the perfect healing mechanism for bringing it to the light, to be spoken about, to be revealed, to be released, to be breathed through, to be let go. And therein lies the real transformation and the healing and the birth,
Because we don't face that pain. It turns to fear. That's what causes the fear. We don't really know what to do with the pain, so we go into fear.
That's right.
Like something's going to happen to me because I'm feeling this pain. And, my little acronym, fear, false evidence appearing real. And that's because we're not facing the pain. Okay, step into it, like you said. Step into it. Face it. And maybe even ask it, what is this for? What is this for? Because I don't feel that we're just kind of something here, just waiting and hanging in and hoping. And I believe that we're here to create something, that we are here to see what this is, and through our God selves determine, okay, well, what's my role? What's my part in this? What can I do to support others as they're going through this? And not to fear it,
Yes.
That false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That idea of allowing your test to be your testimony.
Yes.
Even though we don't see God as testing us in unity, but using that as an act of faith.
Isn't our soul journey kind of not testing us, but pushing our buttons for a specific purpose. You know, we are meant to fulfill something. That's what I believe. That we're not just here to hang out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be nice, but you know, so when we feel the pain and or see the pain, feel the fear, to me, that's a call.
Yeah.
That's a call. Step up, because you said that. Step into it, step up. Go ahead and see it, and allow yourself to walk into it, right? And be aware of it, and look at what it is, and look at where it comes from, and so forth. Yeah.
It should be a motivator, and you know, you were saying something, you know, about pushing the buttons. It's the buttons, you know. It's the fact we have buttons. We form some buttons, you know, and this is the hard, undigested untruth that it's our working theory.
Yeah.
Once upon a time that we thought would keep us protected, but instead it keeps us separated, doesn't it?
It does.
And it also sets us up for the next brush against and pain and reactivation and all of that comes up. And this is how we learn, and it's how we grow. This is really, like you say, you know, it's our human life. This is how it's supposed to be. We just don't have to live with it that way, you know. And everything can be healed. Everything can be forgiven.
Yes.
Everything. There is nothing beyond that. And when we know that for a fact, we get more, what would you say, more courage to move into it, rather than feel that you're going to just add to it or be defeated. You know, it's just knowing that no, you're not given anything you can't overcome.
Absolutely. And I'm a forgiveness junkie.
That's right.
I love to forgive.
We should be masters of forgiveness.
Yes.
We really should. It's the
Yeah.
best tool we were given,
It really
to be
is.
released of everything.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the voicing of the fear in the presence of others who understand. We have so many support groups here at Unity, and yesterday I went to the Care for Givers group, and just to share my own concerns about things that I'm experiencing with other caregivers who are like, I get that. Oh, I've been through that. Yes. Oh, I feel you, you know, and just to feel that camaraderie. It's like, oh, the energy shifted now because we're sharing more of the experience together. It doesn't feel like my fear alone in me, oh, guarded and scary and that kind of thing. It's like, oh, there's lots of others we're all on this journey, and it's like our tribe moving forward and facing these fears and healing together. I love that.
Oh, it's an amazing journey to be a caregiver and to be walking through someone else's journey that affects us so deeply, you know. Usually it's family, or, you know, we're caregiving a close friend, but it is transforming for the caregiver as it is for the person on their journey, whether they're on their way out of this experience, out of this life, or whether they're going through a healing journey and will be independent again, you know. No matter how it's supposed to turn out, you will never be the same person that entered it.
Absolutely. That's what's so great about being a caregiver, is that you are with that person caregiving for a reason. There is something there that you were called to, and there's something within you that is in need of what this person is feeling and going through, and there is something for them in you to support them as they go through their situation. Because, you know, there's only one of us anyway, right?
Yes. Oh, I know with my mom, it's like an energy exchange. She was the mama bear that protected me, and I thought I was really a mama bear with my daughter, and then when it's time for me to care for my mom, boy, did that mama bear come out.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
really protecting her and wanting the best for her. And it's like just surprised myself even with the kind of depth of care and power that just came forward from the need of the moment, really what was needed, and knowing that to be an advocate for her is really one of the greatest spiritual blessings of my life, to get to do that.
And of course, she taught you
She did.
how to be an advocate.
She did.
And so therefore, she prepared you to be an advocate for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is. Yeah. That is.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.